Hi moms and dads. Just want to talk to you today a little bit about the HiPP ready to feed formulas. So I'm going to talk to you about the Pre, which I have right here, as well as the Pre HA. So as you can see, they come in 200 milliliter bottles in a case of 6. Now, this is the ready to feed formulas are the formulas that I'm recommending to the parents, the moms who have not given birth yet. Because it's convenient, because it's sterile, and overall it's just a really, really easy way to just have backup if your breast milk doesn't come in. Something that I wish I had prepared for was purchasing the HiPP ready to feed and bringing it to the hospital with me. My breast milk didn't come in for 5 days, so I had to feed the other stuff. And if I had prepped and I had gotten this, I mean, I would have been much happier at that time. So I'm going to talk to you today about the ingredients. I'm going to talk to you today about what you want to bring with you to the hospital in relation to this formula and what you want to bring as far as, bottles and coolers and that kind of stuff with you to store it. And I'm going to talk to you about the ingredients as well. So let's dive in. The HiPP ready to feed formulas are sterile, and doctors recommend from birth at very early, during the very early weeks of life, that we give our babies a sterile formula. Now, I don't necessarily think that, the ready to feed should be given for the first, 3 months. I do recommend that the ready to feed be given right after birth. It's convenient, it's sterile, and it's just much simpler than, you've just given birth and you gotta go and make a bottle. It's a little overwhelming, those hours and days and sometimes weeks right after. I mean, let's be honest, the years of being a parent are a little bit overwhelming, but mostly those days and weeks right after birth. So this is going to simplify the formula process. Really what you're going to do is you're going to want to bring a couple cases, I would say, a case or two. I don't know, obviously we don't know how long you would be in the hospital for after birth. Some people are released, shortly after, and some people are there for 5 days like me. So, I mean, you're going to want to prepare and bring a couple cases with you to the hospital. You're also going to want to bring a cooler. Now, the reason why I recommend bringing a cooler is because the baby's not going to eat a lot. At the beginning, they're going to eat, they're going to be drinking a very small amount of formula. So you don't want to waste these. Once you open them and say you pop the nipple on and feed it right from the bottle, that is going to waste a lot of formula because you can't refeed a bottle, obviously. So what I'm always recommending is you bring a cooler with you, packed full of ice. And so once you open one of these bottles, also have some sterilized bottles in that cooler with you. So you want to make sure that, you're prepping this so that you're going to have all your tools and your instruments and everything in that one cooler. Put sterilize some bottles, put them in a Ziploc bag and toss them in the cooler, and have all that with you for the hospital. The hospital will have an ice machine and you can just keep refilling the cooler with ice. So once you open this bottle, pour out what you need into that sterilized bottle and feed it from there. And if, hubby needs to go home and sterilize some more bottles, or you have a friend bring more sterilized bottles, then do that. But I don't recommend feeding directly from this bottle to the baby because the baby's just going to drink a small amount and then you're going to have to toss the formula. This bottle will last opened in room temperature for 1 hour. After 1 hour, you have to toss it. This bottle will also last if you're pouring it out and storing it, using what you need from it, then you can put the lid back on and store it in the fridge for 24 hours. So, I mean, this is very simple. It's just like all of the other baby formulas. You can store a room temperature bottle, or you can keep a room temperature bottle out for 1 hour. You can put the lid back on this bottle after it's been opened, put it in the fridge or your cooler for up to 24 hours. After 24 hours, you have to throw it out. And that's basically, you know, the run through. The hospital will, like I said, they'll have an ice machine. Just keep the cooler cool. This is going to, you know, help because you're not going to be storing the open bottle in the, you know, communal fridge in the hospital. So you're going to have the bottles right beside you. So when baby is hungry, because the baby's going to be eating probably close to every 2 hours. So you just literally, I mean, roll over, get the nurse to pass you a bottle out of your cooler. This way, nobody's going to the fridge and getting it for you. And I mean, you don't have to worry about the formula once it's opened, sitting in a communal fridge being compromised. So that's basically the process that I'm telling all parents to kind of prepare for. I mean, you pack a hospital bag. You're going to want to pack, you know, kind of your formula bag as well, which is the cooler with your bottles, your sterilized bottles, and all that comes with those sterilized bottles. So the nipples, the caps, everything. And you're just going to open up one of these bottles and you're going to pour it right into your sterilized bottle. And then you're going to feed. These are already at room temperature. When they're in the case, you do not need to store these in the fridge like this. This can sit in your pantry. You don't have to put these in the fridge. It's only once a bottle is opened that you have to put it in the fridge. So that's basically it for prepping for birth. Now, I want to talk to you a little bit about the differences between the pre and the HA. So, I mean, the pre has no starch, no sugar. Obviously, none of the European formulas have any sugar. But also, they contain the long-chain polyunsaturated fatty acids, omegas 3 and 6s, which are great for retinal development. They also include the pro and prebiotics. So those are derived from natural cultures, which are actually also found in breast milk. Now, this is great because babies are born with a sterile gut. So I'm always recommending that we give our babies probiotics from birth. Now, there's not a whole lot of probiotics and prebiotics in HiPP formulas, but there is enough to make a bit of a difference. So I think that for the most part, what you want to do is just keep providing the ready to feed formula for the first couple weeks after the baby is born. And then once you kind of have an understanding of the digestion, obviously we can discuss, you can contact me and we can discuss what your options are as far as another European formula that you can go on to. But you may notice that the baby spits up quite a lot. And that is something that you would want to then provide a formula, a little bit of a heavier formula. So a formula with starch. So once again, the pre does not have starch. So, I mean, you're going to want to weigh the formula down a little bit if the baby is suffering from a bit of acid reflux or is just, excessively spitting up. That's where the starch really comes in handy because, it's derived from non-genetically modified corn. And it's going to help keep the formula in the tummy. So, I mean, there's a few things. You can actually go right off of the ready to feed pre or HA and right onto the powder version after the first couple weeks, because these ready to feed formulas also come in the powder version. So it's a very simple transition. It's just a different method when you're making it, right? So, I mean, I would probably recommend that you do switch off the ready to feed within the first few weeks. I mean, your pediatrician may say something different, so always listen to your pediatrician over little me. But I do recommend that for the, this is going to get expensive. And I mean, baby formula is expensive, especially when you're feeding the really good quality baby formula. So, I mean, to keep the cost down, I would definitely recommend going on to a powder within, probably around the month mark. Whenever you're comfortable, whenever you're ready for it. I mean, formula feeding can be daunting. It can be, feeding a baby can be overwhelming. So you just want to, when you're mentally ready to go down the powder route, then switch over from the ready to feed to the powder when you're able to. I mean, new moms are lacking sleep, overwhelmed, stressed out. There's a whole lot of stuff going on with our hormones. So yeah, when you're ready, transition over to the powder. Okay, let's talk ingredients. So I basically went through it all with you with the pre, and now I'm going to discuss a little bit about the HA ready to feed, pre ready to feed. So as mentioned, this is the pre ready to feed, and HiPP also makes the HA pre ready to feed. So the difference between the two is that the HA stands for hypoallergenic. So those, I'm usually recommending those formulas for the parents who may suspect that there could be some sort of a dairy sensitivity, a milk protein allergy, which is actually the most common allergy in babies. And so if, say, they've had another child and the child suffered from a milk protein allergy, then they may want to purchase the HiPP HA Pre instead of just the Pre formula. Now, what the HA is going to do is, because of that hydrolyzed protein, it's going to allow for easier digestion. It's formulated to really break down, it's formulated with enzymes that break down the protein more and allow it to, provide easier digestion for the babies. So you're really going to kind of notice a difference if, you were to feed, if the baby did have a milk protein sensitivity, and you fed the pre, you may notice that, the baby would get gassy or a little bit upset tummies, just more irritable. Whereas the HA may settle them a bit more. They may be a little bit more content after a feeding. Let's remember that, colic is real. Babies do get upset for the first 6 months. Their digestion their digestive tract is maturing. So we need to aid that however we can. Whether you're feeding breast milk or baby formula, you can definitely see that the baby will be upset after a feed, or even just in general difficult. There is a thing called the witching hour, and the babies do get colic, and so just keep that in mind. The things that you want to look out for when it comes to an allergy would be a difference in the stools. So I would probably say, we want the breast milk type stool, which is, a yellowy mustardy type, and not too loose, obviously not hard. And whenever you're noticing anything different, green in the stool, obviously blood in the stool is not good. Anything, if the stool is really hard, or if there's foam, or if it's really, really runny, then those are all things that we may want to look at in regards to the formula, because it really means ultimately that, there's something going on with the formula that isn't agreeing with their system. So that's something that I discuss with you. So we kind of work through, there's a trial and error process in place as well, right? Some babies, the first European formula or whatever formula you feed them, they could take to it right away and be totally happy with it. Whereas some babies, it takes a little longer to find out what the perfect formula fit is for them. So it is a bit of a process, but don't panic. Obviously, we've all been here as a new mom, trying to figure out a formula or trying to breastfeed. It's feeding a baby. Once again, it's not easy. So Just, stay strong. You can always contact me. You can find me at www.theyummymummy.com. Send me a message if you want to chat about European formulas. If you want a consultation, I'm here to help. And we can get that going and get the support there that you need. Unfortunately, there's just not enough support for formula feeding parents. And that's why I'm here and doing what I'm doing. So feel free to reach out anytime. And once again, this is the HiPP Pre ready to feed formula. Super convenient, but also great for when you are going in to give birth. So I think that's it. Obviously, if I haven't answered one of your questions, comment below. But you can also send me a message and we can chat. Okay? So happy formula feeding.